Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I wanted to run through remortgaging in 2024 as it's something that I have literally just done yesterday, and given where rates have been going up and down, quite a hot topic. So, let's go. So to start with, I thought it would be worth running you through what I'm remortgaging from to give you an indication of the sort of price increases I'm looking at and some of the decisions that I made and the thought process that I went through in order to pick what rate and what term I'm going on to. So let's take a quick look at that now. So as you can see from here, I started on 2.4%. That gave me a monthly annual repayment of £638.78. Wow, a distant dream now. That feels good to think about paying that. So yeah, that was when I first got the house. The house cost me 160k. I put down a 10% deposit, so 16k, and that left my outstanding balance at the time of 144k, which is how I ended up with the £638 per month. So yeah, that was back in November of 2019. We're now coming up to November 1st, which is when my new rate starts. So we're coming up to that now. We're on the 12th as of the time of recording, and I remortgaged or locked in my rate on the 11th. So yeah, a few more days to go. Potentially there might be another announcement between now and then, but I think yesterday when I was looking on the news, there were some companies starting to raise mortgage rates. So that kind of said to me that given the time frame I'm looking at, they're probably at the lowest point they're going to be before I'm going to remortgage. So let's lock in a deal now. You can always change this before the actual start date of your contract if you want to, but it's good to have something there just to fall back on in case they suddenly shoot up like we saw at the earlier part of 2024. So who did I decide to remortgage with? Well, for me it was quite an easy choice. I decided just to stick with my current bank, which is Barclays. There are many reasons for this. Least of which is that it's relatively easy then to go forward. You don't need to get new valuations, you don't need to go through any of that. You can just literally go on the app, click which rate you want, and it just ports you straight over to that. So that was quite a good feature. I really don't want to waste a lot of time. I think especially now, so you can get mortgage advisors, and if you're completely alien to mortgages and maybe not even that interested in looking at it yourself, then they do provide a service. But for me, I quite like to do this myself. You can do most of what they do through a comparison site. You really don't need to have the 1.5 hour pre-appointment and then 1.5 hour close appointment. For me, it just felt like a complete waste of time. I know what sort of rates are out there. I know what I'm looking for, basically. So if you're in that boat, mortgage advisors they're probably going to get a lot of hate for saying this, but they don't really offer too much more than just what a comparison site does now. I guess 20 years ago, yes, it would have made sense, but really, honestly, now I'd rather just have the 3 hours back, to be fair. So that's another reason why I went with Barclays, because looking across the board, I know I wouldn't have to get a new valuation, any of that stuff, and they offered fairly competitive rates, so that's why I decided to stick with them. Looking on the screen here, so when I was going through, one of the key decisions I made was, do I want to go for a 2-year fix, a 5-year fix, or a 1-year fix? There is a 10-year fix, but that feels a bit too committed for me. And to be honest, this was probably the harder element of the decision. Rates are forecast to come down. They're predicted to be around 3.5% base rate by the end of 2025. So you would think that mortgage rates would trend downwards towards this point as well. Currently, we're sitting some rates you can get just above 3.5% with a fee. Some without a fee you can get just above 4%, and those are both on kind of 5-year fixes, 60% LTV. So, which is, I'm around the 75 to 60% LTV just because of how much the increase went on house prices between when I bought throughout COVID and where we are now. So I'm very fortunate with that, and I do accept that as a very fortunate position. So with that, my thought process was, am I likely to move out of this place within a year or 2 years' time? And for me, the answer right now is no. I'm probably not going to move out or look to sell this place. And I say this from my current situation. I don't know where I'll be in 2 years or 5 years, and I may look back on this and go, I was completely wrong. But I don't foresee myself wanting to sell this place and get more mortgage debt. I'd quite like to just get this place paid off as quickly as possible. So with that, I decided to go for the 5-year fix. It's similar to what I was on before, and the same decision I made when I first bought a house, which is that I'd rather have that certainty and that comfort of what I'm going to be paying on a monthly basis for a decent period of time. I feel like my thought process behind the 5 years is that perhaps, similar to what happened in the previous 5 years, I might get a promotion, I might get a pay rise, I might even change jobs, and that might come with a pay rise. Who knows? And at that point, the 5-year fixture on now will feel a lot smaller. That's at least from my experience. When I fixed previously, it was kind of top end of my budget, and then chartering, becoming a chartered accountant, progressing, being promoted, moving to a different company, that £638 is now really, really manageable, and something that I want to continue is having one place that is really affordable rather than absolutely stretching myself to the limit and being concerned about losing my job the next day. So yeah, that's why I've locked in the 5-year, because it actually works out at quite a manageable increase, which still doesn't feel comfortable. It feels horrible knowing that next month I'm going to have to pay more money for exactly the same building, but that's how banking and mortgages work, I guess. So looking at the rates, knowing that I wanted to buy a 5-year, I had the choice between these two. So it was a 5-year fix at 3.8%. This one was with a £999 fee, so that would have brought my repayments to £722.68 per month, which is an £83.90 increase on what I'm currently paying. So again, not great, but not the worst, honestly. Really not as bad as it was going to be earlier in the year. And again, that's probably why I'm quite keen to lock it in. Yes, I can appreciate it might go lower, but what I've learned from my previous 5 years is that I kind of locked in at 2.4. Rates came down. Initially they went up a little bit, then they came down, and then we had the period where they were super, super low, and I was kind of regretting it. And then that 2.4 has seen me through this huge increase, and now coming back down to a decrease. So you kind of, rather than looking at trying to get the best value, I look at it as, what am I more comfortable with? For me, certainty. I hate gambling, large amounts of money. I don't like uncertainty in my life. So if I can fix for a long period, 5 years seems to be, the good point in my mind. It just gives me certainty over that 5 years of what's going out of my bank, and that for me is, if in 6 months' time I end up, spending £20 a month more on my mortgage, then so be it. At least I locked in, and I know where I'm going to be. So yeah, that 5-year fix with basically £1,000 fee comes to 722. The next 5-year fix with Barclays on my LTV bracket was at 4.04%. So again, the reason that this one's slightly more is that there is no 999 fee or £1,000 fee. So it brings your monthly repayments up, in my case anyway, to £738.02 per month, which is a £99.24 increase on my previous or current mortgage of £638. So for me, I went for the no fee one, the 4.04%, and there's quite an easy way to work out if it's worth it to pay the fee or not, depending on your situation. So jumping back to the screen, all I've done effectively is you have the difference in the two mortgages, so this being £15.34 per month. You have to multiply that by the amount of months of the term, so in this case it's 5 years, which is 60 months. So that gets you to a net increased cost of £920.40 over the 5 years by going with the higher rate mortgage. And mathematically, as you can see, the fee itself is £999. So it actually costs more to have the lower rate than if I just don't pay the fee. So just mathematically it makes sense. Also on that point, it's worth noting that there is a time value of money in that £999 fee now is going to cost you more than £15 per month extra over 60 months, because by the time you get to year 3, year 4, due to inflation, that £15 extra is actually less. Don't worry if that doesn't make sense to you. You can just look at the raw kind of saving that you make of £80, and it all makes a difference. But of course, if you understand the time value of money, you get what I'm saying. Yeah, so just to round off, I'll just click, have a look. So this is on a balance of £121,695.10 remaining as at the end of October. It's quite a lot. Not as much as some, and I'm not. It's always going to sound like a huge amount of money when you're looking at 6 figures worth of debt, and effectively that's what it is. And again, going back to my first point, is why I want to pay this off as quickly as possible. One of the most interesting things I saw when I read through the documentation actually is, so when I look at this, if I kept on this rate for the next 20 years, so this is a 20-year term because my initial one was 25 years. So if I stayed on this rate for 20 years and just continue to pay the mortgage off as it is, I'd end up paying back £206,970.10, which is, it's crazy the amount of interest you put on that. I mean, it works out basically £106. It works out that I pay back £1.69 per £1 that I borrowed, or if I do the difference, equals it's basically like a 70% interest rate. It's absolutely insane. Like, imagine if you went to buy something like a car or something and said, the percentage value that you're going to pay back is like 70% on top. You'd be like, oh, it's crazy. But that is what a mortgage is. I mean, it's nuts actually. So when you look at like 4% it's pretty meaningless because it's only your in-year value really. I mean, it all adds up to be that you're basically paying back double the price of the house, which is phenomenal. But what can you do? That's how we buy houses. So what is quite interesting actually, and something that now I'm a bit more set on doing regularly, is I've been looking at this repayment calculator. So I'm just going to type in my balance, 20 years, I'm on a repayment, and it's going to be 4.04%. So if I put that all into, and this is free by the way, this is like the money saving expert Martin Lewis's website, really quite useful. But as you can see from this, like if I were to pay £200 a month extra, I would save £17,520 in interest, and I would clear my debt 5 years and 9 months earlier than the 20 years. So I'll be able to clear my debt basically in 14 months, which is, it's nuts really. And that's just regularly doing £200. I know it's, money is tight and it's getting tighter, but it's something that I really, really want to commit to. And I think it's something that I might try and do is round up my payment to be, £1,000. And actually, if I look at that, so I've got, if I do £1,000 minus my repayment, which is £738.02, it's £261.98. Now, if I go back to that calculator, 261.98, and see what that gets me to. So just even that extra, £10 on top of the 250 that I was going to say, or 200, sorry. So if it was £200, it would be the extra £68. Saves me £20,890, and I clear my debt in 6 years and 11 months earlier than expected. So my mortgage would literally be, by the time I get to the end of this 5 years, I'd almost be halfway through it. It's crazy. So I think I might start doing that. It's something that I want to commit to. And I think for me, looking at this sort of calculation and going, well, I could keep stepping up and stepping up and stepping up in housing and basically be paying a mortgage for the rest of my life. Or I can kind of accept that a 2 up, 2 down is okay. Look to rejig some of the layout if I needed any extra room and things like that, and make it a real home, and just be mortgage free by the time I get to my what's that, 13 years. I'd be in my 40s still, which it's crazy to say given that I'm 31 now, but do you know what I mean? Like I feel like we normalise having mortgage debt till the end of time in this country way too much, and actually we should be looking at things more like this, like becoming mortgage free earlier. You can only be in one room at a time, and having that extra cash flow freedom every month in my mid 40s would be amazing. Think of how many more things you could do if you didn't have a mortgage. So yeah, I just wanted to add that on the end. It's something I've been thinking about, and maybe I won't hit £261.98 every single month. But even if I could do half of that and shave off a few extra years and some interest, it's definitely worth doing rather than having it sat in savings at 3% or something stupid that's not going to really make a difference, when this actually could make a decent bit of difference to my life. So yeah, that's it really. I won't ramble on anymore about overpayments. My mortgage is going up to £738. You know what that means? I'm going to have to do another budget update coming soon. There's been a couple of things that have changed in my life actually, which probably warrant doing one of those. But for now, all that's left to say is thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for your patience. I know there's been a bit of a gap, and I appreciate you tuning back in to watch this one. If you have any questions, please leave a comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.